Imagine a world where Cerberus, the feared three-headed guardian of the Greek underworld, suddenly disappears. Today, we will explore the epic consequences of this absence, not only for the gods and heroes of mythology but for the balance of the entire universe. Don't miss out, because the truth may be even more surprising than the legend. View a world where Cerberus, the formidable guardian of the underworld, leaves his post and emerges on Earth. This event not only disrupts the order established by the gods but also revitalizes ancient myths surrounding this enigmatic creature. In ancient literature, Cerberus is more than just a monster. He is a symbol of insurmountable boundaries and unfathomable mysteries, guarding not only the entrance to the realm of the dead but also the secrets it contains. The earliest references to Cerberus take us back to the epics of ancient Greece, where he is often depicted with three heads, each representing an aspect of the past, present, and future, a trinity that watches over all who enter and leave the underworld. This vision is not merely an attempt to instill fear in the hearts of mortals but also a profound representation of eternal vigilance and omniscient knowledge. Epic poets such as Hesiod and Homer used Cerberus not only to emphasize the severity of punishments for the dead, but also to explore themes of vigilance, transition, and purification. By emerging into the world of the living, Cerberus disrupts the thin line between life and death. This cataclysmic event has the potential to rewrite the natural laws that the gods have so carefully established. His appearance among mortals can be seen as a sign that the secrets guarded in the underworld are ready to be revealed. He brings with him hidden truths and forbidden powers that could completely alter human understanding of the divine and the mortal. His presence also challenges the authority of the gods over human destinies. Greek mythology often reflects on the balance between divine power and mortal agency, and Cerberus's transgression of this divinely imposed limit could suggest a new era in which mortals may challenge this control. Ancient literature teaches us that myth is a mirror of the society that created it, and the stories of Cerberus echo human fears and desires, such as the desire to challenge imposed limits. This development in Cerberus's narrative challenges historians and mythologists to reassess the relevance of the guardian of the underworld in contemporary culture. His departure from Hades is not just an escape but an invitation to revisit and reinterpret ancient texts in a new light, seeking lessons that may still be applied in our time. Through this study, we learn more about the past and, paradoxically, about ourselves, as ancient Greek stories continue to shape our perceptions of life, death, and what lies beyond. When we think of Cerberus, the image that often comes to mind is that of a fierce guardian of the underworld, a beast with three heads, each representing an aspect of vigilance over the dead. However, the influence of this mythical being extended far beyond the shadows of Hades. His presence, though confined to the bounds of the underworld in most tales, played a crucial role in Greek society. It served as a potent symbol of order and conformity. The fear that Cerberus instilled was not merely superficial. It was a deep-seated fear rooted in the consequences of defying social and divine norms. In Greek mythology, Cerberus' function was to ensure that the dead did not leave the underworld and that the living did not enter. This function, in itself, mirrors the laws and rules imposed in society. Through the figure of Cerberus, the ancient Greeks conveyed the message that transgressions would have severe consequences. This aspect of the myth was often used by leaders and parents as a tool for education and social control, reinforcing the idea that disobedience to established rules would result in terrible punishments. Expanding on this analysis, Cerberus was not just a physical guardian but a moral and ethical one as well. His presence reminded mortals that their actions on Earth would have repercussions in the afterlife. This teaching was essential for maintaining social order and instilling a sense of personal responsibility. Belief in Cerberus helped ensure that individuals followed not only written laws but also the unwritten moral codes that governed human behavior. Interestingly, Cerberus' influence was also reflected in funeral practices and the Greek concept of justice after death. He was a constant reminder that death was not the end but a transition to a final judgment, where a person's actions would be weighed. This aspect of the myth prompted people to reflect on their daily actions, pondering how they would be viewed in the realm of the dead under Cerberus's vigilant gaze. In conclusion, the figure of Cerberus transcends his mere frightening appearance and assumes a role as a central pillar in the moral and cultural structure of ancient Greece. He is a perfect example of how myths, though fantastical, are direct reflections of a culture's values, fears, and social structures. With Cerberus, the Greeks not only imagined a guardian of the underworld but projected onto him their own ideals of justice and moral order, making him an eternal figure in the tapestry of human thought. Cerberus, the monstrous guardian of the underworld, is more than just a three-headed sentinel preventing souls from leaving Hades. When he emerges from the underworld, the balance of power among the gods of Olympus is threatened, unleashing a series of events that reveal his complex relationships with other divine entities. The departure of this guardian from the shadows not only disrupts the tranquility of the dead but also elicits immediate reactions from gods like Hermes, the guide of souls, who finds himself overwhelmed and anxious due to the disturbance of his role. His presence in the world of the living does not go unnoticed by Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, who has always valued order and strategy. The unexpected arrival of Cerberus on the earthly realm presents a peculiar challenge to her. Athena, recognizing the implications of having such a powerful and chaotic being outside of his designated territory, convenes a meeting of the gods to discuss the consequences and measures to be taken. This reveals a rarely seen facet of the goddess, who, while a strategist, shows concern for the ramifications of such disturbances on the order of the cosmos. Meanwhile, Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy, sees the disorder caused by Cerberus as an opportunity to promote even more unrestrained festivities, leveraging the fear and confusion among mortals to extend his festive domains. The interaction between Cerberus and Dionysus highlights a fascinating contrast: the chaos of the underworld versus the controlled chaos of Dionysian celebrations. This juxtaposition illustrates how even a god associated with lack of control and freedom can, in a way, collaborate to restore order. Cerberus's passage also deeply affects the realm of Poseidon, who rules the seas. With the increasing number of souls escaping into the oceans, the god of the seas faces the challenge of maintaining calm and order in his domains, as these disturbed souls attempt to flee their final destiny. Poseidon, traditionally seen as a temperamental and unpredictable god, must then negotiate with Hades to find a solution for Cerberus's return and restore balance between the worlds. The impact of Cerberus on the Greek pantheon is a reminder that even in the most structured mythologies, relationships between gods can be as volatile and dynamic as mortal passions. The interaction between these deities reveals a web of power, influence, and responsibility that shapes not only the world of the gods but also the destiny of humanity. By exploring these interactions, we are reminded of the complexity and depth of Greek mythology, which continues to enchant and inspire through the centuries. Let's imagine a scene in the Greek underworld where Cerberus, The infamous three-headed dog, known for his relentless vigilance at the gates of the realm of the dead, suddenly disappears. What would be the implications? Cerberus's departure would create a power vacuum, an unguarded portal that could theoretically allow the souls of the dead to escape. The Underworld, without its guardian, would face an unprecedented crisis. This hypothetical situation invites us to explore who could take Cerberus's place and how these changes would reflect on the order and chaos of this dark and mystical realm. If Hades, the god of the underworld himself, decided to replace Cerberus with Hermes, the messenger of the gods, the dynamics of the underworld would undergo a radical transformation. Hermes, known for his cunning and speed, could not only prevent souls from escaping but also facilitate communication between the underworld and Olympus. This change could soften the barrier between the living and the dead, making the underworld less a place of eternal punishment and more a space of transition and messaging. Now, let's consider the replacement of Cerberus by Ares, the god of war. With such a fierce and combative figure guarding the gates of Hades, the underworld could become a battleground, where the souls of the dead would be recruited for eternal ghostly wars. Ares's presence could instigate a more tyrannical and warlike regime, reflecting the darkest and most violent aspects of death, contrasting sharply with the relatively stable order imposed by Cerberus. What if Aphrodite were to take Cerberus's place? The underworld could be transformed into a place of unresolved desire and passion. Souls could be tempted to linger in the underworld by seductive beauty, transforming their sorrows into a different kind of torment, centered on love and loss rather than isolation and darkness. Aphrodite, with her power over the heart and spirit, could reinvent the underworld as a place of eternal and unfinished emotional connections. Finally, the insertion of Athena as the guardian would bring a completely different aspect. Known for her wisdom and justice, Athena could establish an underworld where souls are judged not only for their actions but for their intentions and challenges faced in life. With Athena in control, the underworld could become a place of learning and reflection, a location where souls are prepared for reincarnation or to achieve eternal peace based on their wisdom and merit. These alternative visions of the underworld challenge us to rethink the nature of vigilance and punishment. Each god brings a unique perspective to the guardian role, reflecting their domains and characteristics. Cerberus's absence would pave the way for new rules and new types of experiences for the souls of the dead, demonstrating how mythology can be flexible and open to contemporary and imaginative interpretations. In a world where Cerberus, the fearsome three-headed guardian of the underworld, suddenly disappears from his post, this absence not only generates immediate chaos but triggers a series of cataclysmic events. Without Cerberus to guard the entrance, souls wandering the threshold between the world of the living and the dead find an open path. This abrupt change threatens to disrupt the millennia-old balance between life and death. With the departure of this guardian, the first and most palpable consequence would be the risk of souls escaping back to the world of the living. This challenges the very essence of natural laws established by the gods of Olympus, that once in the underworld, there should be the eternal place of souls. The integrity of this spectral boundary becomes vulnerable, which could lead to confusion and panic among both mortals and deities concerned about the imbalance between the worlds. In addition to spiritual issues, Cerberus's absence would directly affect the hierarchy and administration of the underworld. Hades, the sovereign of this realm, relies on Cerberus's effectiveness and intimidating presence to maintain order among newcomers and ancient inhabitants. The lack of an enforcer as powerful as Cerberus could encourage rebellions or even attempts to seize power by other infernal entities, or souls dissatisfied with their eternal stay. In a scenario where the barriers between worlds weaken, the effects on the world of the living would be equally dramatic. Reports of paranormal appearances and activities could increase exponentially, altering the cultural and social dynamics of humans. Religions and belief systems would be forced to reassess their interpretations of the afterlife, while scientists and skeptics would confront irrefutable evidence of another plane of existence. The narrative of this event would not only be a story of chaos and disorder, it would also open space for a profound exploration of themes such as destiny, morality, and the impact of divine choices on the human universe. From this point on, every soul, every god, and every mortal would have to re-examine their roles in the grand tapestry of the cosmos. In the end, Cerberus's saga is not just about the absence of a guardian, but about the cracks that his absence exposes in the structure of an entire spiritual and material system. In the Greek underworld, a dimension of darkness and mystery suddenly deprived of its most feared guardian, Cerberus. In Greek mythology, this monstrous three-headed dog is not just a pet of Hades, he is the core of the underworld's security, preventing the souls of the dead from escaping back to the world of the living. His departure triggers a series of events that redefine the conception of freedom and order in the Greek cosmos. With Cerberus's departure, the underworld experiences a power vacuum. Souls, who once trembled at the mere sight of the threatening claws and fangs of the dog, now test the limits of their spectral prison. Without their guardian, the barrier between the living and the dead begins to weaken, and what was meant to be an eternity of rest or torment transforms into an opportunity to revisit the world they left behind. This phenomenon provokes a chain of effects both in the underworld and on Earth. Reports of appearances and ghosts increase exponentially. In the world of the living, ancient cultures that observed strict rituals to honor the dead suddenly find themselves navigating a sea of uncertainties and renewed fears. The diluted barrier between these two existences challenges the very structure of ancient Greek religious and social beliefs. In the underworld, other mythical figures begin to question their role and power. Deities like Hades and Persephone face a dilemma about how to restore order without their most loyal guardian. The quest for a solution exposes vulnerabilities in the power structures and responsibilities assigned to the gods of Olympus. Order needs to be restored, but Cerberus's absence suggests a new era, where the rules of the past may no longer be sufficient to govern the future. The analysis of this situation reveals a deeper reflection on the nature of freedom and servitude. The souls, although initially jubilant at the prospect of freedom, soon discover that Cerberus's departure not only guarantees a physical escape from the underworld, but also raises questions about the meaning of existence after death. The gained freedom is accompanied by an agonizing uncertainty without the order imposed by Cerberus. What truly awaits the souls beyond the gates of the underworld? This scenario instigates a reassessment of life, death, and the choices that define both states, culminating in a saga that explores the limits of freedom in the face of eternal responsibilities. The absence of Cerberus is not just a security breach, it's a cosmic rift that destabilizes the balance between the world of the living and the dead. Cerberus is not just a guardian, he is an essential pillar that upholds the laws established by ancient gods. Without his menacing presence, the barrier separating these two realms begins to weaken, allowing nefarious influences to infiltrate the earthly world. With Cerberus gone, the souls once contained by his terrifying growls now consider passage to the world of the living. This migration of souls is not merely a matter of numbers but a change in the very essence of the worlds. Each escaping soul carries with it a fragment of the spectral energy of the underworld, causing disturbances and imbalances wherever they manifest. Imagine unexplainable encounters and paranormal phenomena increasing as the veil between the worlds becomes increasingly thin. The gods, realizing the gravity of the situation, may find themselves compelled to intervene. The cosmic order, so meticulously orchestrated, relies on the segregation of these planes of existence. Divine interference could range from sending celestial envoys to correct the course to the possibility of a reconfiguration of the fabric of reality itself to reinforce the weakened borders. The chain reaction goes beyond the tangible. The balance between fear and security, life and death, begins to crumble, affecting the beliefs and spiritual practices of mortals. Societies that once viewed death as a peaceful transition may start to fear the unknown, leading to a resurgence of ancient rituals and possibly the emergence of new sects devoted to appeasing wandering souls and restoring lost order. This scenario, though catastrophic, offers a rich tapestry of events and consequences that reverberate through all aspects of existence. Cerberus's absence from the underworld is not just a crack in celestial security but a blow to the very heart of cosmic dynamics, which could redefine the fate of gods and men. In a world where Cerberus, the imposing guardian of the underworld, no longer lurks in the shadows of Hades' realm. By leaving his usual post, this gigantic three-headed dog sets off a series of events that reverberate not only through ancient Greek legends, but also within the structure of our contemporary culture. Without the presence of this vigilante, souls that once wandered confined to the shores of the river Styx begin to venture beyond the known boundaries, bringing with them ancient mysteries and forgotten truths. With Cerberus's absence, the barrier between the world of the living and the dead is revealed to be weakened. In this new reality, the living have the rare opportunity to interact directly with spirits who have unfinished stories or urgent messages. This scenario opens a Pandora's box of ethical and moral possibilities. How will we deal with the knowledge and emotions of these wandering souls? Modern society, already intertwined with technology and science, suddenly finds itself confronted with the palpable and undeniable impact of the supernatural. In this intersection of eras and realities, new myths begin to take shape. Cerberus, traditionally seen only as a guardian or obstacle for heroes descending into the underworld, now emerges as a more complex and multifaceted figure. His presence on Earth is not just a sign of chaos but also an invitation to re-examine our perceptions of control, freedom, and the unknown. Through movies, books, and other forms of media, Cerberus can be reinterpreted not as the feared monster but as a symbol of protection against the dangers that come from ignoring the boundaries between worlds. Furthermore, Cerberus's return to the underworld can become an epic narrative about restoration and balance. Such a return would not only be the conclusion of a temporary escape but a catalyzing event for deep reflections on what we keep locked away in the depths of our own psyches and societies. This is where Greek mythology meets contemporary issues, proposing not only entertaining stories but also introspection and learning. Ultimately, Cerberus's journey out of the underworld and his eventual return can inspire new myths and legends that engage with the concerns and hopes of modern man. These narratives have the potential to transform the ancestral monster into a hero of his own journey, reflecting our eternal quest for understanding and meaning in the chaos that often seems to surround our existence. This reinsertion of Cerberus into popular culture would be a mirror of our own attempts to understand and control the forces that define the human and the divine, the natural and the supernatural.